Hi! I hope you didn't catch me then looking at my watch. Hi! This is the Hangout on Maps. Okay, what's a map? What is a map? A map is a depiction of territory, of land. If you have a little triangle of land and you have an area to display it on, but that little triangle on your area is a big triangle, then that map's wrong. It's as simple as that, really. Okay. So I have here behind me the infamous Gleasons. And this here is the sun. The sun is, oh, well, wait, first, let me just describe how the Gleasons was arrived at and why it's wrong. You see, the Gleasons is based on solar noon, based on the sun being a physical object which casts a shadow to the north and to the south, wherever it is. Does that happen in the real world? Yes. Does it happen from a physical object? No. So, the sun is here, approximately 6,000, just over 6,000 miles away from the UK. Why have I placed it here? Because I have researched the sun. I have done sun tracking sessions. This is where the sun is at solar noon when it's rising in New Zealand. This is 6,000 miles away from the UK, just over, but it's almost twice that to New Zealand. So what does this mean? It means this map is wrong. So either you move New Zealand or you stop thinking of the sun as a physical object. Also, this is winter, northern winter, southern summer. This is the sun setting from the UK on the Tropic of Capricorn. This sun is on the Tropic of Capricorn. This sun at this time is rising in New Zealand. What's the angle between New Zealand and the sun? Is it southeast? No, let me get a different pointer that will make it easier for you guys to see. I hope, is this easy? Let me, this will do. Okay, so here's the sun, and this is when it's rising from New Zealand. Does that, given that that's north, and this is east, and any point further than that is southeast, how is it that the sun is here if it's a physical thing? Or if it's a thing that has locality? It doesn't have to be physical to have locality, but if this is a thing that has locality, what is it doing there when it's rising from New Zealand? Is it here and somehow bouncing this way so it can then be seen to the southeast from New Zealand? And yet this distance between New Zealand and wherever it is that it is bouncing is not picked up by, say, Hawaii. What is this? I know what's going on with the sun, but this is just, by the way, I should mention this. Tomorrow there's a debate between Jeronism and Halfwit Weiss and Darren Nesbitt on maps. I like Jaron, but he doesn't know so much about maps. David Weiss really doesn't know anything about maps. And they're talking to a guy who's going to explain that this is a representation of the Earth, okay? This is just, people shouldn't do this. They shouldn't talk about subjects that they don't know about. So Here's the sun setting to the southwest from the UK. That's where it's setting. It's rising in the southeast from New Zealand, which is over here. In the real world. In the real world, not conspiracy world. Now I'm going to move the sun. I'm going to bring it to the Tropic of Cancer. You have people in this area of the Arctic Circle. And people in this area of the Arctic Circle see the sun because it's not 6,000 miles away. You see, when I had the sun here, the distance between the sun and the UK, you see how that distance is shorter now? That's why they can still see it. Okay? This focal point of the sun, they can still see this within the Arctic Circle of northern Russia. There are camera recordings. I have friends who have seen it, who have recorded it themselves. This is not a conspiracy, never mind what Darren Nesbitt might say. This is something that happens in the real world. You can't adopt something new that's flawed, that's demonstrably flawed, and in order, neither this nor the other, and in order to support that, dismiss real world phenomena. That's craziness. That is, that denying reality is basically one of the definitions of crazy. So here these people are seeing the sun and it's way past midnight to them. Okay? So they see the sun. They see the sun continuously. I don't want to give too much away, by the way, because I have drawn a map. I will be publishing the map, the problems with this, how to arrive at a correct map, which means how to understand the sun, what it is and how it behaves. So I don't want to give too much away. But all I'm going to do is criticize this. Now I'm going to move the sun. I'm going to put it over here. Okay? If this map was correct, then we'd be able to establish the time in other places other than solar noon. We can say, oh look, it's solar noon just in Western India. Solar noon, Western India. It's like, okay, what time is it in Saudi Arabia? Without checking SunCalc or previously accepted understandings of the world. Okay, if this is solar noon there, what is it for Saudi Arabia? What's the angle between the sun and Saudi Arabia? And the angle between the sun and Saudi Arabia, which is here, I'm going to draw, this is here. Okay, so the angle between the sun and Saudi Arabia is this way. Well, everywhere else along this line has the same angle to that sun, but obviously it's not the same time. So this fails for marking the time. This only works for marking solar noon at any point. That's all it does. If that solar noon is a spider's web, if that solar noon is a vortex, it doesn't matter. This only shows solar noon, and in order to do that, it has to distort the sizes of the continents. Now we move on to sizes of continents. This is the United States. Okay? This area here. The green area on the map is the United States, which is the same size as Australia. Now, this is where people who defend the Gleasons and the AE map say, oh, yes, well, obviously, there are distortions because it's a projection. It's like, okay, relax a second. This is the size of America. Australia should be this size. Australia is not this size. Australia is twice that size there. And if we want to measure Australia, the standard distance, although it's wrong, is that it's 2,400 miles wide. So 2,400 miles means that it's 3,000 miles away from America. Oh, wait, you have to keep changing the sizes as you go to the north because you have to adjust for the correction. Okay, like, okay, in how many ways is this wrong then? You look at the first example, I said you've got an area and you're going to depict a triangle within that area correctly. Well, if you depict the angle huge, you're not depicting it correctly. You're not making a map. This is not a map. This is simply a representation of solar noon. Okay, so just listen again. This is a visual representation only of solar noon. What does that mean? It means this is a remote view of time. Wrap your heads around that. Can you remotely view time? No, you can't. How would you remotely view time? Well, you'd have to do things like this. Stretch the size of the continents, work with a sun that is local, that will cast a shadow to the north and the south at solar noon, and say, there you go, which is what this map does. That's all it does. That is all it does. You cannot establish distances between east to west. You can't establish distances between north to south either. There's nothing that a map would help you do, i.e. tell you the size of things and tell you the distances between, that this thing can do. It can't, it fails to do that. It doesn't tell you the distances between, so that's a fail, and it doesn't tell you the distances between, oh, and the sun angles. Sorry, got distracted because I'm standing here on a flimsy sofa. So it doesn't tell you that the sizes. It doesn't tell you the distances between countries, and it doesn't tell you the sizes of countries. In what way is this a map? And it's called New Standard Map of the World. It's not called New Standard Remote View of Time of the World. Just because somebody calls something a map doesn't mean it is. A map has to represent reality. And it's difficult for people when they've got this imprinted in their minds with a sun that does circles and fails to meet all of the angles other than solar noon, and only a 2D representation of solar noon. Forget the altitude, it doesn't display altitude, obviously, okay? So in what way is this a map? This is a drawing. It's not a map, it's a drawing. And it's not a map of the Earth, it's a drawing of solar noon time. It's a remote view version of time. That's what this is. I'm going to come back to some points because I want to get on to this gibberish. This is Darren Nesbitt's representation of the world. There are some people on the Earth right now who genuinely think the sun comes in and disappears and then comes back in. Like a video game, like a screensaver. The sun just pops into the screen, goes across, and then goes and disappears, but then pops back in immediately. Why do they think this? Because it says it on the book, in the book of Enoch or some other religious text written by somebody who didn't have a clue about what the sun was or anything like that. So we're just making any shit up that people couldn't double check. That's it. You can make any shit up that people can't check, you know. I could say I was levitating before, like Martin Lidker. I was levitating before for half an hour. I was levitating, not touching the floor or anything. You can't check, but I was, so that's what I was doing. No, you can't just make shit up. And all of this is based on the faulty logic. It's not even logic. On the faulty deduction that the sun travels in a straight line across the equator, and that the sun travels in a straight line all of the time. That's what this has led people to believe. First of all, when you're looking at the sun, let's say one day you've got the whole day and you're not going to get sunburnt, and you're going to spend the whole day looking at the sun. You're on a comfortable swivel chair, you're between the tropics, and you're going to watch the sun from sunrise to sunset from the same location. You're not going to move around. You're going to just stay sat facing east, see the sun, and it's going to come towards you and get higher and higher and higher. This is what it's going to look like it does, because basically it's just going to get further and further away from your horizon. Further and further away from your horizon, above your head, and then closer and closer to your horizon. It's got further away from a horizon that's 3 miles away and closer to another horizon that's 3 miles away. You've determined that in this 6 mile horizon distance from your indexical viewpoint, the sun has traveled in a straight line in a circuit of 24,000 miles. You've determined it from 6 miles. 6 miles out of 24,000. What a great deduction. Not only that, you're going to completely ignore the fact, now I can use this pointer, that the sun rises southeast from Australia and New Zealand and South Africa and South America. It's not a conspiracy theory. If the sun goes a straight line across here, then what the hell are they doing seeing it in this direction? And if you're going to give exceptions and say, well, they see it in this direction and not where it really is, then you have to scrap this altogether, because you haven't got a clue what you're looking at. If the sun can be at some other location than where it is, then you're just talking complete gibberish. That's what you're doing. And that's what you're doing, Darren Nesbitt. Same with the north. In the north, when the sun is going in a straight line across the Tropic of Cancer, the guys in the north can see the sun to the east, which is this way. So that's strange, because the sun's somewhere here, but they can see it this way. Okay. And they can see the sun all of the time. And now it's here. Okay. So now they can see the sun all the time, and now they can still see the sun. And they can still see the sun and still see the sun and still see the sun continuously. Not only that, but watches work the same way in Murmansk as they do in California. And whilst these guys are watching the sun having gone from here, which the map model says, well, they're looking in the direction to the sun. Okay, from this point on to this point on, between these 2 points, there's a period of around 8-9 hours. But this map says that the minute it goes from here, it pops back in here, in which case the people in Murmansk should be looking at the sun and then flip and look and just see the sun over here, which means they would be looking at their horizon, watching the sun go up, go down, and then immediately find it over there. This doesn't happen in the real world. So stop talking shit about maps that you don't know anything about. Sorry, excuse my language. I might get another strike for this. Oh, by the way, I won't be uploading this on my bigger channel. In fact, I'm going to use this channel from now on. Hopefully people will subscribe. I'm going to use this channel from now on because apparently somebody really doesn't like being called dropped pie face. Really, you know, They don't like a taste of their own medicine. So they go crying to daddy, and they issue strikes and stuff like that. Anyway, we'll let the police sort this out. Enough of the drama. Back to this. Let me see what notes I made for myself. Okay, so land size ratios between the continents. South America is smaller in the real world than North America. That's the real world. And if you think, well, this is a vague representation of the real world, you can correct it somehow. It's like, okay, then correct it. How are you going to correct it? Are you just going to shrink the eastern coast, Brazil and Argentina? You're just going to shrink it back? Is that what you're going to do? Well, if you do that, it's not going to match time in the real world. So that's a problem. There must be something wrong with it. Yes, not only is it too large, it's also placed too far to the east. How do we know this? This is how. Solar noon happens in this area of Canada at the same time as this area in Brazil. There, Canada, Brazil. Do you see? Do you see what I'm doing? You see how they're not on the same longitude? You see how for this place to have solar noon, it would mean Chile, not even Chile. Yeah, the westernmost point of Chile in the real world. So this, not only is it too large, it's too far over this way. But of course, they made this in the 1800s, and they didn't know all the details. In fact, somebody who joined in with a sun tracking, a sound guy called Cosmic Surfer, sent me a link to a report about the time in South Africa. Did you know that in 1944, this globe idea, which this is a flattened out version of, and this is time, did you know that South Africa had an hour mysteriously taken away in the 1940s, 1944? Sorry, did I say Australia? South Africa. South Africa had used to observe summertime and daylight saving. So they used to observe it. They don't anymore. And it wasn't like one year they said, okay, this year we're just not going to mess with the clocks. That's not what happened. Okay. It would be, now it's this time, now it's this other time. Now it's this time, now it's this other time. That's what generally we do, everybody who observes daylight saving. What they did was, now it's this time, now it's this other time. Now it's this other time, and we're going to keep it to this. That's what they did. Go and research it. So the location of South Africa wasn't so certain in 1944. That's after they started depicting globes in cinema. That's after they created globes for classrooms. So did they just move Africa to fit with their model, or what? But in any case, South America, too large, doesn't match the time properly. It just doesn't match the time. You have to move it a little bit for it to match the time. It would have to move further west to match the time. But if you do that, if you move it further west, then it throws a whole load of other things off, because you'll have the time matching for Brazil, this area, but not for Argentina and Chile. Argentina and Chile will have slipped past their time. This is a problem. The size of Australia and the distance between Australia and New Zealand. Okay. If this is 2,500 miles, then this is 600. So let's see, that would be 1,200. 1,000. This would be approximately 1,000 miles between the two. Okay, now what's the time difference between New Zealand and the UK? Go and figure it out. Go and watch sun tracking. Go and spend hours watching the sun tracking sessions. Now, let's go back to the sun. We've established, now we're going to move it to Tropic of Cancer. We're going to move it here to Hawaii. Okay? Hawaii in the summer, more than 6,000 miles away. So this was 6,000 miles. I don't know if you can see. Okay, I'll use this. So before it was here. Now it's here, just over 6,000 miles. Let's say it's 6,000 miles. How is it possible for me to have a conversation with Joey Rocha, where it's my daytime and it's his daytime too? It should be, first of all, north from me. So virtually 180 degrees north or 0. Okay. Yet somehow it was afternoon for me and morning for him. It was daytime for me and daytime for him. Doesn't quite work, this local sun business, does it? Now let's bring it back to this. Doesn't work with this either. The sun being over here and being daytime for him and daytime for me. And so this situation here, not only does the angle not match whatsoever, because even in the UK in the summer we don't have the sun at 340 degrees, 350 degrees north. We're not in the Arctic Circle. Let me see what other notes I made. Okay, so with this, we can establish the sun is not a local thing. Number one, how do we establish this? With this actual thing. We can determine if the sun is here, then the angles would be, are the angles that in the real world? No. Okay, then the sun is not a local thing, because there's no other way of splaying this, just slightly here and there, to make the angles match. The sun, I'm not giving it away, but the sun is not this singular point in the sky. The land size ratios, the distances between areas, it doesn't work. It's wrong. So all the globelings who say, oh, look at the distance between New Zealand and Santiago de Chile, there's no way they could get there. It's like, yes, they're right. There's absolutely no way they could get there on one single flight without stopping, going straight across. But this is wrong. And what they're critiquing is something that's wrong. In fact, if somebody wanted to purposefully debunk the flat earth movement preemptively, they would create this as a straw man. So the globelings could say, there's no way you can make that, because the globelings are right saying that. But this is not the actual layout. So although you can change the layout to make things fit more closely, and you can change the sizes like my map does, like a real representation of the world, you can have this match time and distances, but you can't have it match the sun if you think that the sun is a single thing orbiting above. It's just not doable, like absolutely not doable. So I'm going to go over it again. For the sun to be here, here, and it be sunset in the UK, which it is at a point in the year, and sunrise in New Zealand, there has to be some kind of weird pulling, stretching phenomenon going on, because the distance between the UK and it is greater than the distance between New Zealand and it. In fact, if you took New Zealand and you placed it on, you kept it on its longitude, you just pulled it up to the north, it would have to be where Eastern Russia is in order for the sun to be a single object in the sky. And that's not where New Zealand is in the real world. So, northern summer, everybody can see it in the Arctic Circle continuously. Northern winter, nobody sees it in the Arctic Circle at all, because even when we keep it at the same longitude, we pull it down to the Tropic of Capricorn, and now it's too far away. It's further than 6,200 miles away. So they don't see it. And when I say the it, I mean the furthest most point of the phenomenon. The phenomenon doesn't reach this region at all throughout the day. At any point, for weeks on end, they don't get a sunrise. So keep it on the Tropic of Capricorn, bring it over here. That's the Tropic of Capricorn, okay, which is the equivalent to over here. Just moved it across to the other side of the pole. And now look at the distance between this place and the sun, if it's a local thing. Now it's much closer. Why would they not see it? It's close enough to be visible to the UK. Why are they not seeing it? Because the sun doesn't work like that, and the sun isn't there. Anyway, same with these guys. Back to these. By the way, this was just a quickly drawn map, so don't criticize it, saying, oh, you got this wrong, got that wrong. Need to include New Zealand. Okay. Same thing. When the sun is going across this line, according to this model, all these guys can't see the sun. They just can't see it at any point. Okay? They can't see it. Everybody else can see the sun, but all of them wrong. All of them see the sun. In fact, everybody sees the sun wrong, apart from the people between the tropics. The sun is something that's only for the people between the tropics, and only between the people between the tropics can establish the location of the sun and the time. The rest of the world can't. Time and date doesn't reflect reality. The sunlight doesn't reflect reality. Vegetation doesn't reflect reality. Or this notion doesn't reflect reality. That's it. That's my breakdown of the Gleasons, the AE azimuthal equidistant projections, the clowning that goes on with this version. And now I'm going to address something that's kind of serious. I've referred to this in a former video. There are people in the flat earth who are literally spreading psychosis. And this is really serious. When a group makes war with another group, what they do, first of all, is dehumanize them. So right now, in the flat earth, we have flat earthers who are with God. They are for the greater good, and anyone who is not with them is with the devil and are not fully human. They don't have the human spirit. Kill them. This is basically what's happening right now. You don't have to consider their feelings. You don't have to consider their arguments. You don't have to consider anything. They're not human. They're possessed by evil spirits. They were probably down on their luck at some point and a spirit sneaked in. This is a psychosis, and it's a serious thing, because the flat earth makes people who first come into the flat earth understanding that, coming into the flat earth, that realization that the globe is an illusion, removes the foundation. It completely leaves their paradigm shredded. And at that point, they're incredibly vulnerable. And you have people who are saying, we will look after you. This vulnerability you're feeling is the result of truth. We can tell you further truth. One truth, God has woken you up and is pointing out to you what truth is, including us, and he's pointing out to you that there is truth in the idea that those people who are globelings and completely rational, or who are flat earthers and completely rational, all of them are possessed by evil spirits. This is a bad situation, and people shouldn't stand aside and let this happen, because what will happen, and I spoke with Off and Read about this 2 years ago, what I guarantee will happen is being a flat earther will be classed as a mental illness. I spoke with Off and Read about this. I spoke with a few people about this. If this continues, if people continue to just allow, and also don't freak out when people do this, okay? Just don't freak out, okay? People do it as a gesture. There's a very different kind of mind that would do it, meaning 666. If I'm not talking about numbers, then it doesn't apply, okay? If we let people like the Sun and Moon group twist other people's reality to the point that they really don't know what's real, what they're doing is they're infecting a psychosis into people. And sooner or later, this will be noticed. This will be noticed by parents, by colleagues, by fellow students. This will be noticed. And sooner or later, the person that's behaving like this will feel so antagonized by the system that's literally just thinking, dude, this guy used to be okay, and now all he does is talk about how it's all a conspiracy, how nothing is true and nothing is real. If you spoke to any psychologist or any psychiatrist, they would tell you that's the definition of psychosis. So don't sit quiet when you hear people saying it's all a spiritual war. It is not a spiritual war. We are not spirits. We are physical, real things. We might have spirits, but you can't establish that. And if there's a spirits at war with each other, you've got nothing to do with it, because right now you're a physical being. There might be spirits that aren't physical beings and are having a war, but you wouldn't know. And you might as well be talking about superheroes in comic books, because that's as much validity as there is to the argument that spirits are having wars with each other. Also, for the people who are religious and saying flat earth because Bible, I'm going to tell you something that is going to offend you. And I don't mind if you unsubscribe or if you just throw a hissy fit. I don't mind. My God is greater than your God. My God is called existence. And my God created the waters in which your God found himself. Can you deny that? Can you prove that that's not true? Can you contest that? Can your Bible contest that? Can your pastor, can any religious authority contest that? No, they can't. Does it mean that because it's not contestable, it's bullshit? Don't know, could be. Does it mean that because it's not contestable, it's true? How would we know? Saying stuff about deities and entities that nobody can prove or disprove is psychosis. And because it's a large number of people calling themselves Catholics or whatever they want to call themselves, saying the same stuff doesn't mean it's not psychosis. We know that cults happen, and cults have a psychotic mentality. Whatever the cult's thing is, it's a psychotic mentality. If the cult gets bigger, does it stop being a psychotic mentality? No, it's still a psychotic mentality. Religion literally is infectious psychosis. That is what religion is. It makes you respond to things that are not real, not true, demonstrably not true. It makes you ignore things that are true, like the fact that you have consciousness, like the fact that psychologists have studied transmigration of souls. It's called transmigration. Look in the Oxford Dictionary, the Oxford Companion to the Mind. It is a genuine, true phenomenon where people have been born remembering very clearly previous lives. Not from centuries ago being Cleopatra and shit, but from being completely normal, routine people who died only a few months before they were born. Like, without any doubt, not scam, not sham. It makes you ignore this. Just say, oh, don't know what that is. Jesus loves me. Think about it. When somebody is being raped, Jesus is going to forgive the rapist. It's like, if the rapist says, oh, I shouldn't have done that, this is not a good idea to say, oh, it's, we shouldn't really react, but we're going to, but we really shouldn't, but we're going to. This is crazy, people. It really is crazy. And saying that people out there are evil because they don't share your point of view, saying that globelings are possessed, and that's why they can't see the earth is flat. In fact, saying that the globe is a trap to guide people away from the truth of God's existence, that's a lie. That's a lie. Do you know how I can tell you it's a lie? Because when they created the globe, they didn't have gyroscopes. What does that mean? Well, when they created the globe, they didn't know what they were on. They genuinely didn't know what they were on. And looking at the stars, and looking at the sun, and looking at the differences between areas, it's a logical conclusion to think you might be on a spinning ball. It is logical. It's flawed. And when it turns out a device is created that shows you, actually, it's not a ball. One, it's not turning, which gyroscopes show. And two, it's not geostationary. It's not static like the geocentrists, because then a gyroscope moving across the surface would turn, would display the same drift. Okay? back when they arrived at the globe, these weren't child rapists and murderers who on the side try and figure out where we're living. That's retarded to think this. And yes, most of them worked under the umbrella of the church. Yes, everybody worked under the umbrella of the church, of the Romans. Everybody did. If you didn't, you got killed. That's how it went. So just because they arrived at a globe doesn't mean they were trying to hoodwink the world into pulling them away from God. Because God would have to be an imbecile to just sit there and go, I don't mind. And I think the consciousness, whatever it created this place, is not an imbecile. So use rational thinking and stop repeating stuff you don't know. Say that you don't know, but don't say shit like when somebody's down, a spirit can get into them. You don't know that. That's just, in how many ways can you dehumanize a person? Well, tell people they're a clone, that would be a good one. They weren't born from real human parents. Or tell people that the person you want to dehumanize doesn't have a human spirit. The savages, just like the Incas and the Aztec and the Maya, just like those guys, just like the Native Americans, just like the Aboriginal Australians, the Indonesians, the Africans, Sub-Saharan Africans, all of them, they're all of them savages. All of them savages. It's okay to kill them. They're not a real human. You can kill them. It's nuts, people, okay? And I'm telling you right now, there's a problem in the flat earth. First, the flat earth community thing is bullshit. It is genuinely bullshit. There's no community. You can see that there's no community. There are fractions and lots of different types and colors and bends of ideas, all kinds of different stuff. That looks just like the wide world out there. That's how the wild world out there is. And that bigger, broader world is not flat earth. So the flat earth community is bullshit. It's an illusion. It's not real. But within the flat earth awareness, you have people spreading lies as if they were true. And lies about fundamental things like what life is and how you should behave and who you should and shouldn't affiliate yourself with. Things that your parents should teach you maybe when you were 3 or 4 up to 7, but not as an adult. Not have adults telling you who you can and can't play with. The reason your parents might have told you you're not playing with that person anymore might be because the person's parents were a bit dodgy and they didn't want you going to their parents' house. But they're not going to tell you this because they're your parents. They don't want to make your life a misery. So be adults and open your minds. Don't let people pull you this way and that way. And don't repeat stuff you don't know. Don't say that this thing works. It doesn't work. Don't say the sun is a thing that orbits at any distance from the surface over the equator or the tropics. Don't say that. That's not true. I'm going to point it out again. If that was true, when the sun is here on the Tropic of Capricorn and it is setting or has just set from the UK, it should be at this angle to New Zealand. And it isn't. It's at this angle actually, to New Zealand. Okay? So don't tell people that the sun is a certain distance from the surface, that the sun has a certain size, and that the sun has a certain path. It's not true. All that's true is the sun at one point in the day in the year actually, gets to be here. 1 point in the year. That's it. Next day, further towards the equator, and so on and so on and so forth. For all of the areas where the sun can be at noon, all of the other times, from all of the other places, it is not within this region. The sun, when it's rising there, is not within this region, and the same everywhere else, including the equator, including equatorial countries. The sun is not at this angle from Ecuador, from Quito. The sun at midsummer is not in this direction. Okay, so don't repeat things you don't know, and don't repeat things you've learned that you haven't checked. Go out and check. They're not the most professional things, but they're better than anything else that exists or has ever existed on this plane. There are sun tracking sessions, full 24-hour sun tracking sessions, live, showing the sun's angle of elevation and azimuth and time in the real world right now on YouTube, conducted by me. I know what the fuck I'm talking about. Go and look at it. And this, don't carry on compensating for this or rationalizing this away. This is false. This is genuinely false. So if you've made drawings of this, if you've made posters, paintings, t-shirts, coasters, plates, frisbees, hats, anything with an AE projection, this is just one of the AE projections, throw them away. You've wasted your time. You should have spent more time thinking instead of trying to make some money. Now we're going to move on to something else, which is money. Just because a flat earther, who understands that the world is flat, makes money from the world being flat, doesn't make them evil. So Brother Sanchez or Dredge making money from flat earth, it doesn't make them evil. You make money from anything you want in life. Don't make money from lies like this. But for people to criticize new channels just because they're new and they have a lot of subscribers very quickly, that's a little bit underhanded. If they're new and they have a lot of subscribers and a lot of views, it's because they're good at marketing. If you want that, get good at marketing. Don't moan that other people are good at marketing. It's entirely up to you. You can go and hang out. You can go and do the same. But don't just criticize. And I say this knowing fully well that Brother Sanchez interrupted a couple of things that he didn't want to go out because he wanted to protect his market and all of that. Just use your integrity. Don't sell stuff that's not true. Don't sell stuff that's false. Don't go around telling people, don't allow people to tell you that this, the sun going straight across, is true. And don't feel rude for stopping them midstream and saying, what about the sun from New Zealand in their summer? Where's the sun? Where's the sun? Because this is based on a physical sun traveling across. Where's the sun? When it rises from New Zealand. Don't feel shy. This is a time where shyness and being reserved, it's not going to play very well. There have always been people who have been shy and reserved throughout history, and there's always been a bulk of people shy and reserved who don't cause many waves, don't cause much trouble, and carry on with life totally fine. If you want to be that kind of person, don't make flat earth content. In fact, don't even comment. If you're going to comment, have integrity and do what you think is right based on your own thoughts, not on ideas other people have told you that you've accepted and you think are your own thoughts. So spend some time looking at what's real, what's not, who's telling you what motivations people might have, And from time to time, give flat Earth a break. Take time off. It's not going to start turning and spinning and becoming a ball. Take time off and don't lose your family. Don't lose your family. Don't lose your friends over it. It's not worth it. This place is going to continue being flat, whether or not you break up with your boyfriend or girlfriend, or whether or not you have an argument with your parents. It's going to continue being flat. Why argue? So they think they're on a ball. That's a logical error. That's what happened. Yes, NASA covered up once they realized they couldn't get out. Yes, they did. They carried on pushing the ball thing. Yes, absolutely. They absolutely lied and distorted reality. From that point on, they've known. So picture that you're NASA or the US government or Russia or China. Well, no, let's forget China because we don't know what they're saying about the Earth. What do? You're the government, and suddenly it's the 1960s, and it turns out that the world is not a spinning ball. What do? You're engaged in wars. You're the American government. You're engaged in wars. If you think, well, there's a kingpin who moves all the chess pieces, the kingpin shouldn't have done that. It's like, okay, maybe the world doesn't work like that. Maybe it's a whole series of organizations and governmental agencies and non-governmental agencies and criminals dispersed throughout them and white hats dispersed throughout them. Maybe that's what's going on. So at this point, somebody, they're like, dude, we can't get out. What do we do? So you're the person now that receives the what do we do question. What do you say? Knowing that the world is flat now, what do you say? Roll out the flat Earth? Or do you say, we better see what this place is before we roll anything out? Because we don't want to say to people, yo, this place is flat. There might be more land outside the ice that's around us, Antarctica. Go, check. You don't want to do that. Not because you won't be able to feed from their misery, which is what we all have been told is what the Illuminati do, but because there might be a bunch of people who leave and die. They might just go and die. That's it. The whole groups of people have gone and died. Or a few people go and die, just continuously. But there's another person going off. Yeah, you know, the last 50 people who left from this port on that boat heading that way, well, on that kind of boat heading that way, you know, none of them came back. Maybe they didn't come back because they hadn't found a lovely Iron Republic civilization, or maybe they just died. You might find them. Or maybe a couple of corpses turned up. What do you do? So before you call judgment on the NASA guys pushing the lie that we're on a globe, has it ever occurred to you that there might be people trying to figure out exactly where we are? And whilst they're figuring it out, they're saying to the kind of people who would make cults, they're saying to them, you're still on a ball, you're still on a ball. Don't start making cults, because we see what happens when the flat Earth comes out. Straight away, people are making cults. And I mean cults, literally cults, with their own keep it flat and all of that gibberish in the real world right now. I'm ashamed of having called all my videos flat Earth this and flat Earth that. I genuinely am. I'm ashamed. I know that the world is flat. I'm going to prove that the world is flat. I'm going to help the academics who might not be studying, because just because there might be maybe 50 or so geophysicists in the know studying it quietly, maybe, doesn't mean all geophysicists are, doesn't mean all physicists altogether are looking at that. So I'm going to help spread it to academia quietly, without fuss, without flat Earth clown shoes and horns and balloons and shit. just quietly. There you go. Have a look at this. But the whole cult making, nah, it's not good, people. It's not good. Now I'm going to go and look, see if this is even online. See what's going on. Oh, okay. Hey, I'm looking in the chat. Hello, everybody. I'm going to, in case you didn't know, I'm not going to upload this on the main channel because there's a ban for it. Yeah, A4. I'm talking Chile now. Yeah. I'm not going to upload this on my main channel because there's a gagging order on it for a while. No, wait, A4. He is a good marketer. Think about it. Yes, okay, shill or no shill, but the reason he's got a big channel is that he's good at marketing. Like, really, I'm just saying, take all the things that we don't know for sure, put them to the side. Let's look at the things that we do know for sure. Is he good at marketing? Yes. There you go. That's it, guys. I'm going to wrap it up. Go back over your maps. Look at your maps. Take this video that I've made. As many of you as make videos, you're welcome to take this video, mirror it, chop all the parts that are not relevant to the maps, and just throw it around, show it around, do everything you can so that people like David Weiss stops hoodwinking the world into thinking that everybody who isn't like they are is possessed by evil spirits, and so that people stop showing this to friends and relatives and being shamed and arguing about how this is wrong. Because the first time I saw this, the very first time I saw this, I saw that it was wrong. So, yeah. Yes, I'm going to wrap it up. Sergey, so Johnny. That's it, guys. I'm quitting. Now, I will tell you this. The last map I made, the last map of the Earth that I made, has got errors. I do have two maps. One is a bit more, has a bit more artistic license, that I've included the Bargos Islands. The other one doesn't. It makes no difference to the northern coastlines of Canada, Greenland, and Russia. Okay, so and Norway. Don't worry. It's not like one of them is distorted to fit the Bargos Islands and the other one isn't. So I have these two maps. What I've seen people do with the map I made last time is use it to push delusions, to push grids underground, all kinds of imaginary thing, whatever it is that they decide that is the truth. So I'm not releasing these maps until I publish a book about the maps and the world, which is a book that is not going to be called a flat earth book. Is going to be a book about the world, about maps, and he's going to take people from, people used to think the world was flat, mapping happened, people realized the world looked like a spinning ball, mapping happened, technology evolved, determining that the world was not a spinning ball, and mapping happened. And here's the map. When I make that, basically I'm doing that to copyright the map, because I don't want clown shoes taking it and just superimposing whatever they want to superimpose on it. Yes, we do need more experimentation. Good times for all. Hey, I don't know if you want to jump on. I was going to wrap it up, but if you'd like to jump on, I'll pass you a link. And I'll go make a coffee and see what you've been up to. I'll wait a few seconds. By the way, this is a roll-up. It's not something else. I don't smoke. There's something else, to be honest. Okay, so there's somebody there saying, why you deal with Luciferian flat earth asshole? Rewind this to where I point out that what the cult mentality is doing is dehumanizing people by saying they're not quite human. Their spirits are possessed, or they're possessed by evil spirits. Okay? So that is Sibyl Rausch. Luciferianism is just another form of psychosis. It doesn't mean that there's an actual Lucifer there. Yeah, Ranty. So, good times for all. Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't like you. Let me pass you a link and see what happens, okay? So just bear with me, people. Okay, so check your Skype. You'll have a link there. And in the meantime, if you would all like to whistle your favorite tune, I'm going to go make a coffee. I might put the Trailer Park Boys on for, actually, yes, I will put the Trailer Park Boys on for you when I find it. By the way, for anybody who does like to engage in cerebral conversations with cerebral people, always when they start bringing in questions, what usually happens with a globing is you say, hey, how come the water doesn't converge around the equator? They say, oh, it's only spinning at one cycle a day. Say, oh, okay, so why is the wind spinning so much faster than that one cycle a day in the direction of the spin? They'll say whatever, just bring it down, bring it back to gyroscopes. That's what I urge people to do. And now I'm going to put Trailer Park Boys while I go and make a drink. I hope it doesn't come out too loud. There you go. Hey, Zach, how you doing? Mic test. That was the worst.
Now, can you hear anything?
Aha, now I hear you. Yeah, not bad actually.
I might have to just get real close.
But I'm hearing you fine.
Yeah, oh, let me see something.
Not now. Now I'm hearing you dreadful. Now I'm not hearing anything. Nope. Okay, whilst you fix that, I'm going to go over this some more. The sun is not a local thing in the sky from which you can extrapolate angles from anywhere other than wherever it happens to be on this map at solar noon. This means that this is not a map of the real Earth. It is a depiction only of solar noon. You could have this on a roll, an actual tube, and say, look, the middle of the tube is solar noon, and that would be on a this kind of map, like this. And you could say, look, wherever you're looking, that's solar noon. Doesn't mean that because this represents solar noon, it's an accurate map. It is absolutely not an accurate map. An accurate map tells you distances between coastlines and between boundaries between countries, and distances between coastlines, so within a country from one coastline to the other, and from coastline to coastline, so across oceans and seas. That's a map. Now, a map with a model would be a map that describes the motion of the sun, but a map only has to show you the distances and sizes. That's all. Hey, do you want to try again?
Can you hear me now?
No, it was fine when you first came on.
I know I couldn't hear you though at all.
Oh, right. Nope, not hearing you.
How about now? Do you hear anything? No?
Yes, but so quietly that nobody's going to hear it out there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Google Hangouts doesn't like me.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what.
We'll do something.
Say again?
I was going to say, we can do something another time if you wanted to wrap this up.
Yeah, well, what I was going to say is I can just tell people out there to go and find something better to do than watch a guy with a red halo with horns behind him. and you and I can talk on Skype.
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right, cool. Everybody who's watching this, thank you very much for your time. Please subscribe if you're not already subscribed. If you're not a piece of shit. If you're a piece of shit, don't subscribe and don't come back and don't watch some more. So there you go. Listen carefully to what has been said and listen to it without your inner dialogue analyzing what's being said whilst it's being said, and then engage with your inner dialogue. That's what intelligent people do. That's how they can process more information more accurately. Okay, so that's this week's sermon for the Church of Truth. I don't know, do you? Bye.